What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Oscar Rivas. Oscar Rivas has signed a multi-fight deal with Toprank. Oscar Rivas, thankful to his management team, Ivan and Mr. Lapine, they were able to get the deal made for him. He thanked also Toprank for getting that deal done. He thanks Toprank for believing in him. He only has one loss, and then he said, but I am still bitter about the loss I took from Dillian Whyte. Had it been on an equal playing field, and I think Dillian Whyte would avoid this rematch at all costs, I would like to get it on with him. Wow. Look, Oscar Rivas is a threat. He dropped Whyte in the 9th round. I think Whyte also had a lot of stress going into that fight because he knew what was going on, unlike Team Rivas, which was shady. It was shady because they didn't know. However, it was a tricky situation. But the blood tampering or the drug test wasn't the only thing. Okay, it was also the gloves. And the BBBC didn't really do anything to step in to regulate the complaint of the gloves weren't regulated from the time. The gloves that Dillian Whyte picked wasn't the ones that he wore. Those are very serious. You know, Luis Resto or Jose Resto, Antonio Margarito. Not saying Dillian Whyte's in this category, but the argument itself, due to everything around that fight, due to the things that they left out from Team Rivas and the things that Team Rivas did know and did complain about, wasn't done. So I can understand what he means by even playing field. You know, so a lot of that had shadiness all around it, because at least what they could do, knowing that they had some pending stuff with Dillian Whyte that had to get sorted out that they're keeping under wraps, they could have at least did something about those gloves and what happened to the gloves and why weren't the gloves used. Okay, so it was a lot of things surrounding that. Oscar Rivas, you know, with that type of confusion, I think he needs another chance. And I would petition for that rematch. Oscar Rivas, you know, I don't see why that fight can't happen. I think, honestly, now, knowing what we know now, knowing that Dillian Whyte was clean, you know, it was something, but they couldn't be determined what it was, but it wasn't what people thought it was. But as far as the gloves and things of that nature, going into it with a dangerous fighter, it's cool to say I did it. That's just like Canelo saying I fought Lara but wouldn't fight Lara in a rematch. I think what happens now, I think it takes balls. I think it takes what Dillian Whyte claims he has to go in there and fight Oscar Rivas for a second time. Because if you noticed, yes, that's a person that's already on the winning list for Dillian Whyte, right? But I think it's at least an argument that Oscar Rivas is back in play. I think that Dillian Whyte should give him another opportunity. That would be a good fight, because Dillian Whyte could then beat him again and solve all speculation or accusations of what people thought, okay, going in. And in fact, it would be less stress for Dillian Whyte this time, because he don't have all this stuff that he, you know, with the drug testing and the samples and all that. He didn't have to worry about that, unlike last time, okay, last June, because there was a lot of drama surrounding and a lot of pressure that was surrounding Dillian Whyte that we didn't know about. Only he did. Okay, so, but Oscar Rivas, you know, they did scrap, they did fight or whatever. You know, I think they should really pay more attention to the B side and, you know, honor certain things. You know what I mean? Because due to the fact of the gloves, if they would have found out, I think they would have detracted. I think they would have just pulled that fight back. And I don't think they wanted to do that. You know what I mean? Honestly, I think that, you know, it was a lot of money on the line and they wanted to get that show on the road. So I think a lot of things were kept hush-hush. But one thing that does make me very suspicious, why isn't Oscar Rivas on the hit list? Right? See, that's another name, that's another tough fighter that people avoid. Tyson Fury avoided this guy, right? He didn't want none of Oscar Rivas. And that would be the guy that puts you down, because he's known to upset, and he carries power in the later rounds. Ask Bryant Jennings about that, okay? And Bryant Jennings, only person that stopped him was Luis Ortiz, and then followed by Oscar Rivas. So that should tell you something, you know. So he put his name on the resume. Then he fought Dillian Whyte, and he dropped Dillian Whyte in the 9th round. And I think Dillian Whyte should give him that opportunity. But Dillian Whyte should consider a rematch. That's what I think. Now, people could argue, oh, he beat him already. Okay, fine. You know, whatever. But, you know, it's just funny that a tough guy like that, you could fight Chisora, which is older and on his way out, but can't fight Oscar Rivas. That would be raising a red flag, you know. But he did fight him already. Fair play to him. However, back to Oscar Rivas, he has a lot of people that he can fight. You know, Andy Ruiz, he could always fight him again. He beat him in the amateurs. That would be a nice fight. That might be the fight that happens. Maybe. You know, Jarrell Big Baby Miller, you know, he signed with Top Rank. So you have Jarrell Miller, Oscar Rivas, Tyson Fury. You know, Tyson Fury ran from him the first time. You know, maybe he might get a crack at him after the Wilder fight, right? If he beats Wilder and Wilder don't run a rematch, and he can knock him out in 2 rounds like he claims, and Deontay Wilder starts acting. Right? He might get that opportunity, but, you know, this year or next year or whatnot. So there is a lot of potential for Oscar Rivas, you know. But the thing is, surrounding him, there's a lot of potential for him at Top Rank. The way people are crossing over and fighting each other, you know, Lomachenko and Campbell, and, you know, those guys, those fights can be made, you know. So I would love to see him fight Jarrell Miller, see what he'd do against a big boy like that, you know what I mean? Get his name off the redemption list, for Christ's sake, you know. So that would be big. That would be a good fight to see, you know what I mean? And they could build that fight, because Jarrell Miller is still, to this day, undefeated. So coming in a tough fighter since Oscar Rivas, that is a step up for Jarrell Miller, because Jarrell Miller, honestly, hasn't fought anyone to that caliber, right? But that is big. Oscar Rivas is very, very dangerous. He's very tough, obviously, because he took a lot of shots from Dillian Whyte in that fight. But, you know, we've learned something about him. You can frustrate him, you know, by boxing him, which Dillian Whyte did a good job doing so. So it's, you know, it's very interesting to see what he's going to do to bounce back. You know what I mean? So Oscar Rivas is a dangerous fighter, a hard-hitting fighter, very muscular, stocky-made guy. His style can give a lot of heavyweights fits, definitely. You know what I mean? Think of somebody like Joshua, you know, a shorter guy like that, coming from that height. You know what I mean? That could give him problems. I would like to see a fight like that, because we know that shorter fighters is Anthony Joshua's kryptonite. So the heavyweight division is blowing up, man. And I'm really thankful to see Oscar Rivas sign with Top Rank. I hope they give him the best fights, maybe a tune-up fight at first, but then boom, right to the gusto, because I think Oscar Rivas wants to fight the best out there. You know what I mean? And that's one thing I look at when I think of Oscar Rivas. I don't see fear in him. Even the face off with him and Dillian Whyte, he was looking and staring down the body snatch, and the body snatcher was head to head. You know what I mean? And they had you know what I mean? They were showing how tough each other were. So that was big. You know, that shows you that Oscar Rivas is not scared of nobody. So he'll get in there and tangle with the best of them. The only thing is, all we need to do is get these fights made for Oscar Rivas. And hopefully Bob Arum is open to working with Al, working with Eddie Hearn, working with whoever he needs to work with to get those type of fights. You know what I mean? But on those fights that are on his side of the street, you got the lineal champ as of right now, Tyson Fury. You got Jarrell Miller, and then you got himself. You know, so it looks good on Top Rank. They're getting a little, you know, stable of fighters together. And of course, that's good. And it just shows you the importance of guys fighting from different promotional companies. Okay? Because again, this guy fought Dillian Whyte, and Dillian Whyte is a matchroom fighter. So it's not impossible, people. So it's good. They haven't specifically said how much he makes, but it's a multi-fight deal. So he'll be fighting on ESPN, you know. So he gets to prove himself once again to show how good and dangerous that he really is. And I want to know more of what he's made out of. I want to see him fight someone like Luis Ortiz, Colombia contra Cuba. That would be a hell of a fight too. You know what I mean? So that would be good, especially the style of Ortiz with the counter punching and the straight come forward style that Oscar Rivas has. That would be a Latin sensational extravaganza. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Oscar Rivas signing with Top Rank. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys have been Counterpunched. Peace.